So we have good news regarding battery life on iPhone 17 because it seems Apple plans to use higher density batteries. What does that mean? Well, it's just a fancy way of saying they're going to be chunkier, so let's delve in. So we first heard about higher density batteries from Min Chi Kuo, which specifically highlighted the iPhone 17 Air was getting this technology. Now it makes sense to use this technology with a device that's naturally going to have space constraints because it will be so thin. And so a high density battery allows a lot of energy to be stored within a small physical space. Now, Min Chi Kuo does not tell us a specific milliamp hour, but basically the actual size of the battery might be smaller than usual, but it should still have a pretty high milliamp hour rate, maybe around 4000 milliamp hours. This combined with the fact we should see the very efficient C1 modem that we have in the iPhone 16e, which also has terrific battery life, means the 17 Air should still be solid, and that was undoubtedly a concern many had with this device because when the device gets thinner, usually the battery life is what's compromised, but that might not be the case with the 17 Air, so that's certainly making this device very tempting, but we'll delve more into the iPhone 17 Air later in the video. Because it's not just the Air getting a larger battery, the Pro Max is apparently also getting a battery boost. Leaker Ice Universe mentions the device is going to get even thicker, with it now being 8.25mm in thickness. For comparison, the iPhone 17 Air is rumored to be around 5.5mm. So yeah, this is going to be drastically thicker than the iPhone 17 Air, and according to Ice Universe, that's because of a larger battery. I do wonder if the Air is only getting the high density battery, maybe because it's new technology, only the Air gets this for now, but that's not a huge issue because of course there's no space constraints as such with the Pro Max. It's a massive chunky device, and honestly I'm still waiting for the day we get 5000 milliamp hours because the combination of an efficient Apple A series processor and also a massive battery would give you insane endurance. Interestingly, Ice Universe also claims the 17 Air and 17 Pro Max are going to be identical in dimensions apart from the thickness. So this means both of these will have the same 6.9-inch display with the same super thin bezels and also 120Hz. And well, I have my doubts about this because we are hearing the 17 Air could be $999, and I'm pretty sure the Pro Max will get a price increase to $1299 this year, and so a device costing $300 less with the same exact panel does seem a little unbelievable. Yes, I know the Pro Max will have its own advantages, like better battery life and much better cameras, but the display is a big reason you go for the Pro Max, and so the Air having the exact same panel does seem unlikely in my opinion. I reckon the Air will be a little smaller, and very credible source Ross Young does say this. He stands by the fact this will be 6.6 inches, and I'm more likely to agree with him as well. Now let's get into iPhone 17 CADs. Before we get into these tidbits, do remember it's still early days for the iPhone 17, and so the design likely hasn't been fully finalized just yet. But regardless, it's my job to report on this information, whether it be credible or not. And so delving into the first thing to note, we have the camera modules on the Pro phones. Leakers have been going back and forth on the new camera module. For those unaware, we were initially expecting a horizontal layout similar to the Pixel, which would make this iPhone stand out compared to every other iPhone since the 11 Pro, which has had the same stove layout. However, there is a reason Apple's firmly stuck to this, and it's not because they're lazy, it's actually because the cameras are at equal distance from each other, which allows for seamless switching between the lenses, but also the positioning helps the iPhone record spatial video. And so moving the lenses could break these key aspects of the camera experience, hence why other leakers have been suggesting the stove design is going to remain, but Apple is going to incorporate a part aluminium, part glass back cover. And that's what John Prosser recently showed us too, and now we see that in these new CADs. We have the familiar triple lens layout, but the LiDAR scanner, mic and flash have moved to the right sides, and we have this aluminium panel at the top right now, and there will be a two-tone finish, which is interesting. By the way, that red portion on the CAD is glass, and the yellow portion is aluminium, and yes, it's kinda similar to the iPhone 5 in this aspect. Now, as much as I do like Apple's changing things up for once with the design, this also is not revolutionary and reminds me of Poco phones if anything. But of course, let's wait for actual press renders before we properly judge this. But you know what I'll judge you for not doing? If you don't take a minute to subscribe. What a horrible segue, but I'm gonna stick to it. I would appreciate the sub, it's free and would bring you the latest of Apple right to your subscription box, so please consider it. Join the Saranbyte gang now. By the way, it's not just CADs we have of iPhone 17, we have case mockups where we can see the design in more realistic renders. And yeah, I'm still not a massive fan, but again, I don't want to judge too quick because I vividly remember hating the iPhone 11 Pro renders, and then we saw the final product and I went, actually, that's not too bad. It looks quite nice. So the same could happen with iPhone 17. Apple can do their marketing magic and make this look amazing. Now moving to the regular model shown in the CADs, the regular 17 isn't anything special with it looking near identical to the iPhone 16, but the Air does have a new camera module with a horizontal bar at the top that houses the single lens on the back of the device alongside the mic and flash. The device also in this CAD is slightly smaller than the Pro Max, so yeah, that 6.6-inch rumor likely is going to be correct, and the thickness of the device including the camera bump is 5.64mm. So yeah, it's razor thin. Let's now move on to video upgrades because Apple has to justify that ginormous camera module somehow, and apparently iPhone 17 is going to focus on video. The target audience Apple is going to be focusing on this year are vloggers and those who create content with the iPhone, and so unlike in previous years where there was more of a focus with the photo quality, Apple wants to tout the iPhone 17 Pro as a content creation machine. Now what exactly is changing as a result? Well, Gurman says nothing, he just says Apple's gonna be focusing on video, but he doesn't specify what exactly is changing. And honestly, I'm not really sure what Apple's gonna do. 8K video, I guess, could be a possibility, but that's still overkill, and not many people record video in 8K. So yeah, just expect video to be magically better on the iPhone 17. We also have news about a smaller dynamic island coming to iPhone 17 Pro Max, courtesy of Chinese leaker Digital Chat Station. They've given us very technical details where apparently there will be a new meta lens for Face ID that integrates the transmitter and receiver components, whatever that means. I'm not going to pretend like I know the technical details here, but basically to put it in layman's terms, they're shrinking the Face ID components and that allows the island to be smaller. Now, as per the norm in the world of leaks, we have someone going against this completely. Min-Chi Kuo believes that's not going to be the case. But honestly, if I were to predict, and if I were to give you guys my opinion, I can see this happening. Because we've had the same cutout for 3 generations now. iPhone 14 Pro, 15 Pro, and 16 Pro. And so after 3 generations, Apple usually likes to bring a visual overhaul to the front of the device, and so the next step would be a smaller island. Also, a smaller island would make this iPhone instantly recognizable as an iPhone, since Android phones usually have a very small punch hole cutout, though I do think eventually Apple will have to adopt that, or maybe they're betting on under-display cameras eventually getting good enough, and we get a distraction-free display. But there is one aspect of this rumor that doesn't make sense to me, and that's the Pro Max only getting this. Yes, in the past, the Pro Max has had exclusive features, but usually won't be visual changes. For example, the 15 Pro had a 5x telephoto, which the regular Pro did not get, but of course on the back these phones looked identical, and so a smaller island should ideally come to both the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, with the regular 17s then keeping the larger island for another year, just so there's a visual difference between the regular and Pro phones. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.